Hello, Adam.
Hey, we made it. How you going, Marcus?
We made it. Yeah. Not sure if we survived today, but we made it.
Yeah,
Yes.
we made
How
it.
are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Absolutely fantastic today.
Yeah, I'm super excited. And everyone in the chat, all 4 or 5 of you, thank you very much for joining us here this evening. So, Marcus, I think you have something very important on your mind you've been meaning to talk about.
Yeah, about the game, but I think hopefully most of my subscribers saw my video already, but we have another AAA game which does not support HDR, which is fantastic. Have you watched my video? Of course not, huh?
Me, I haven't had a chance
Got you here. Mm-hmm. That's fine. That's fine. No. I was a little bit disappointed, to be honest, because HDR is improving, in my opinion, picture massive, but that's how it is. There's not much we can do, unfortunately.
So you're saying this game is a AAA release? Because we just had someone in the chat say AA, but I don't know if they're making a joke or not. But from what I understood, it was a smaller Chinese-based studio, if I'm not correct, if I'm incorrect.
It is a smaller studio, yes, but the hype around it and how it actually looks. So I don't want to go into much details, but it's the whole hype around this game and whatsoever. I actually think it was a AAA game, yeah.
Right.
Maybe 2.5.
The sad thing is, because it was a highly anticipated game. Like, personally, it's not my type of game, but I can certainly appreciate the graphical fidelity and the look of the game. It's using Unreal Engine 5, if I'm not mistaken, and it looks spectacular. Like, just the amount of granular detail is amazing. But I'm actually quite surprised that a game that's coming out in 2024 with this much hype behind it doesn't have HDR. Like, how is that even a thing?
I mean, we have seen this many times, to be honest. I don't know, to be honest, what is the problem. I was in the impression, or some people already told me, that in regards of Unreal Engine, there are already I'm not a programmer, but it looks like that Unreal Engine, you can just add stuff to the engine and more or less it's doing their thing, or it's singing in the background, you know what I mean? So it is apparently, to a couple of people, easy to add HDR. Okay, so I'm not sure if this is correct or not. I'm not sure about that, but that's how it is. So, but what I also have to say, so usually it's just a disappointment when you don't have HDR in a game, but in this case, the SDR, so that's the only picture what you have left, SDR is also not great. We have a black level race, which is very bad in my opinion, and the whole dynamic range doesn't work. It's not really great. So something is a little bit odd.
So what were you playing on, PC or console?
Both. So PlayStation 5 and PC.
And so you were finding that both platforms were having the same issues?
It's the same, yes, absolutely.
That's very unusual, but I guess at the same time, it kind of isn't, because I've lost count of the amount of games that launched prematurely or just weren't fully baked, and they have so many issues. But yeah, I'm quite surprised the HDR implementation just wasn't there. One of the first commenters, Albert Stewart, I'm not sure. I'll just highlight this comment. Oh, there it is. So, Auto HDR by Major Pain the Cactus works amazingly on Black Myth. I'm not sure what that means. Are you able to decipher that one, Marcus?
Yeah, the Major Pain the Cactus is so for reshade. You know what reshade is? It's a little program which can do a million things. To be honest, it's a very powerful program, and you can use the Major Pain the Cactus mod, or whatever you want to call it, and then you have more or less HDR. It's not native HDR, but it's a good fake HDR, I would say.
Is that something akin to like the Xbox Auto HDR, something similar to that?
So back then I made it. So let's say like this: the Xbox Auto HDR, also the PC Auto HDR function is really great actually, because it makes really good HDR in my opinion, and it makes real HDR. So in regards of what these specular highlights are doing. Okay, so it's actually really, really good. About this mod, Major Painter Cactus, I'm not quite sure. I haven't tried it, to be honest. What I will do is in a future upcoming video, maybe I will try if NVIDIA's RTX HDR is working with this game, with Black Myth, because my experience with this was also actually pretty good, despite the fact that you lose frames, because that's how it is, unfortunately. But I would like to see the result actually.
Sure. Are you running both your PC through the same display as your console? So they're both going through your OLED? Yeah, okay. Yeah, very interesting. I find that, as I said, it's quite disappointing because I know a lot of people were waiting on this game. So I find it very strange that a lot of these companies will release games that, I don't know, are just missing features.
The gameplay is fine, you know what I mean? So we need always we can't always say the game is bad just because HDR is missing. It's just one feature. I mean, and that's not the biggest feature. Okay, so gameplay is important, performance is more important than HDR, but here also a little bit of an issue on the PlayStation 5 version, but no spoilers. Okay, but you know, it's a good game in my opinion. Okay, just because it doesn't have just because it lacks HDR doesn't mean it's bad. But it's a disappointment because it's 2024 and we have TVs like that.
Yeah, I'd also like to, well, I guess most of the people that are either followers of your channel or my channel, I guess the reason why we're here is we're all enthusiasts, right? So most of us would have a modern TV, OLED, I guess most of the enthusiasts go for these days. So at least for me personally, when I'm purchasing a game, like especially if I'm not sure if I like it or not, one of the things that will really push me over the line to purchase the game is if I know it's going to have a really beautiful presentation. So I'm running the G4 at the moment, and I pretty much want everything to look the best as possible. So yeah, for me, I feel like it's a pretty big letdown.
No, I fully agree because the thing is, and I think this happened because we're getting better TVs or screens or monitors in general. So back then, when I started with PlayStation 1 or when I started with Commodore 64, the screens were not on this level, you know, in terms of picture quality, image quality. And of course, you played on a CRT, it was flickering or whatever. You had fun because the gameplay was great. But now we have those TVs with where we can see all the fine details and stuff like that. Of course, you see now every single mistake or issue what the game has. So, and of course, you're focusing on this. And unfortunately, I'm one of them. If I see an issue, I can't concentrate on the game anymore. It's just, oh, bloody hell. It's a pain.
Well, that's why I was saying people who follow us are probably like that. Like I have some friends that can't tell the difference between SDR and HDR or 60 and 120 FPS. For me, it's night and day. As soon as I'm playing 60, I'm like, what's wrong with the TV? You know, straight away. So yeah, a comment that just came up. So sadly, Wukong is also Unreal 5 stuttering, so still going to play it. So would that be related to PC hardware specifications or
no? Unreal Engine 5 is, so to be very honest, I mean, when Unreal Engine 5 was announced, it's great what this engine can do in terms of, and again, so if you play this game and you set everything to max, it looks absolutely fantastic, but it still has issues with upscaling and stuff like that, or objects in the distance, because they're very actually not blurry, but very over sharpened. It's not great, you know. Unreal Engine 4, I have the feeling, was a rounded product, was, you know,
right.
So
yeah, I did catch a little bit of the Digital Foundry review of it, and
I haven't watched it.
yeah, it was just as I said, I really just kind of scraped through.
So you're watching Digital Foundry over me?
I know, man. I need to unfriend. You need to unfriend me. Yeah, but one thing they mentioned was that nanite engine and the over sharpening. So when you've got like a background image with maybe some trees or something, there's like you can see the sharpening around there and all that. But
it doesn't look good, to be honest.
Yeah,
it doesn't look good. But it's even worse on the PlayStation 5 actually in terms of image quality. And I'm working actually, not currently because this is live, but before the stream started, I was working on a video comparing the different performance modes on the PlayStation, stuff like that. It will be an interesting video. It's not perfect, this game, in terms of image quality and stuff.
Yeah. Another comment that came up that caught my eye. It's true. It's crazy to me when even on PC, we have so many OLED monitors right now, and HDR support is probably getting worse. And I will definitely mirror that. There's been several games that I've purchased, pre-ordered, and day one, actually a couple of your videos I watched. I can't remember the game. We discussed it the other day. Do you remember? It was a free-to-play game. Do you know what I'm talking about? It was a free-to-play game, just came out on consoles. But anyway, one of your videos you made, and straight away, as soon as I launched the game, do you remember?
I forgot the name, but I know what we talked about.
It just, so I actually thought my TV was on the wrong setting. I launched the game, you know, the HDR logo pops up, and the black level was so raised, it just looked like there was this gray wash across the screen. And I was like, what the hell was going on? And I started fiddling with my settings, you know, and then I disabled Dolby Vision, just see HDR 10. And I'm just like, what the hell is going on? How are these people getting it so wrong?
Yeah. Was it The Descendant?
That's it.
Yeah. Well, I think so. I can't remember.
The Descendants or something like that.
Yeah, I think so. It was this where I said this has very, very weird HDR, because you walk actually and you have perfect HDR, and then you walk into this room and suddenly it absolutely look warm. I don't know what they're thinking sometimes, really.
Yeah, and I always get confused between how you can do the calibration from the console. So PS5 and Xbox, you can go in and do a system level HDR calibration, and then the games have their own calibration. And I find that very counterintuitive. I feel like Sony and Microsoft kind of need to step in and go, look, we'll handle the HDR. We'll, you know, because once you calibrate it, it's calibrated. So like you have to kind of eyeball all those games that want you to do calibration inside that game.
Yeah, that's a problem. But we have this calibration menu since PlayStation 4 already. So, and it's not heavily in use, to be honest. So it needs to be supported by the game. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's there always on the PlayStation. It's available, but most of the games are not supporting this. And the problem is, my opinion about this is that we have cross-gen games, you know, so the games getting released everywhere, also on the PC. And the PC, most of the gamers are on Windows 10. Windows 10 does not support this Windows HDR tool. So that's why they have to come up with settings in the game anyway for PC gamers. And because nowadays, I think porting a game is quite simple compared to back then when PlayStation 2 was a complete different architecture compared to PC. Nowadays it's all PC hardware, to be honest. So that's why they're just deciding we go the simple way. That's how it is. Because just actually first-party studios, most of the first-party studios games supporting the HDR system level calibration. And that's because there's no port, you know? Yeah,
of course.
That's
So what do you think there will be? Do you think there'll be a patch? They'll patch it in later? Do you think there'll be an implementation, or do you think this is it?
You can. I mean, we had Immortals. Immortals got at some point FSR3 and also HDR support.
Oh, Immortals of Avium?
Yeah. So it's possible. Of course, you can patch in anything if you want to. I mean, according to Steam statistic, this game has right now 1.4 million players right now. It's one of the best starts ever. So the game is really good. It just lacks performance a little bit, or the finishing touch, let's say like this.
Yeah, of course.
But let me read this from Norbeige. Hopefully that's correct. There are no PlayStation 5 reviews because they didn't send PlayStation 5 codes. Yeah, no one actually got any PlayStation 5 code. No one, literally no one. So, and that's actually a very bad sign, to be honest.
Yeah. I just quickly looked on my phone. The game I was talking about is The First Descendant.
The First Descendant,
Yeah.
See, you know
See,
everything.
man, you made a
Ah,
video, man. You should know better.
oh my God, how many videos I made already? All this, you can't remember all this.
Yeah. I just want to take a quick second just to say, everyone who's commenting and who's joining us for the live stream, just want to say we really appreciate it. So thank you, and we'll try to get to a lot of your questions throughout the live stream. So yeah, please keep continuing. We'll try not to forget you. But did you want to add anything else to the Wukong situation?
No, I think that's enough for now.
Okay.
More videos coming from my end, so that's it.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'll just quickly, so I'm just looking here. We have a question from Mr. Skeleton. So I'll chuck that on there. So can you please tell me which TV is best for PS5 between Samsung S95D, LG C4, or LG G4, and which size? Do you want to start with that one, or should I give you my opinion?
Oh, I mean, if money doesn't matter, I would go with the LG G4.
Yeah, I recently purchased the 83-inch G4. Absolute cracker of a TV. I had a Samsung Neo QLED, one of those 8K beasts, that failed on me, which was, yeah, I made a video of that. So if you're keen to check that out, please have a look in my channel. But I also have an LG C1, and man, my C1 is still an amazing TV. So it just, again, you kind of didn't really specify if there's a budget or anything like that. You know, some people might argue the S95D because it's a QD OLED panel. I'm big, ever since my Samsung failed, I'm a little bit off Samsung for a moment. I went through something like that many years ago with Sony, so I didn't buy Sonys for years, and I'm kind of in that Samsung phase where the Neo QLED 85-inch, that was, you know, around $10,000, so the price of a small car. And when a TV like that fails, you kind of get a little bit butthurt. So that's something that stays with you for a little while. Moved over to the G4, cost less, much better TV. So I guess, which TV is best for PS5? So yeah, so if you're asking for a gaming TV, some people might say S95. They're all good. That's the thing. They're all good. So it really depends on your budget. But bottom line is, man, get as big as you can get. That's my thing. So if you can get a C4, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the C4. And we're going to touch on that C4 a bit later.
Absolutely not.
Did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, no, absolutely right. So, I mean, I would never actually order a TV without seeing it. Full stop. You know?
Oh, okay, really?
Now what you need to do is because now the thing is, you know, look at the S95D reviews. They're top. This is a top TV, but the coding, the coding on the screen can be terrible depending on your living situation. If you have living, that's right. So if you have a very bright room, I would never recommend the S95D. Even so, he didn't put in Samsung S95C because then I would say get the S95C, because the C model has, in my opinion, one of the best coding and anti-reflection I have ever seen, to be very honest. Yes, it's not perfect black when there's a bright room, but in terms of reflection handling, much better than this OLED here. Much better. And it's a QD OLED. So no problems with issues like what is the name?
Like color luminance, like high
brightness.
So
it's just perfect, you know.
One thing I will add is, depending if you have a bit more of a complicated setup. So, for example, in my setup, I have the TV, then my receiver, and all my consoles and devices plug into my receiver. So it's a HDMI 2.1 receiver. So most people plug their consoles directly into the television. For me, one thing I've learned over the years, owning Sonys, owning Samsungs and LGs, is that LG speaks the best HDMI CEC. So I had the same thing with my receiver, with my Samsung. always had HDMI CEC problems, whether the commands weren't going through, the wrong commands would come through, or it just wouldn't respond. As soon as I put an LG in there, everything works absolutely perfect. And the only thing I changed was the TV. So that's something I also tell a lot of people. If you do have like a receiver and a kind of a bit more of an elaborate setup, you do have to consider that, because yeah, my Samsung gave me headaches for years, and I always thought it was my receiver. When the TV failed and I replaced it, as soon as I put an LG there, everything worked. So
Okay.
yeah, good question, man. Good question.
Let me highlight this one. We have a super chat. Thank you very much, Demon.
Thank you.
Demon. Sorry for that, Diamond. How would you pronounce this name?
Diamond.
Okay, Diamond. Okay, thank you very much. That's euros, by the way. Thank you. Where are you from? PlayStation 5 balance mode or performance mode? I have VRR. You mean for the game? To be very honest, the only way to play this game is performance mode, in my opinion. But more in my video, okay? Thank you very much for the super chat.
Yeah, I'm always a performance mode guy. Occasionally I'll go back and, one thing I like to do is I'll play a game for quite a long period of time on performance, so I can enjoy the high frame rate and that kind of smoothness. And then once I kind of know the game, know how it looks, say after a week of playing it, that's when I'll go back and turn on the performance mode and maybe go down to a 60 FPS mode. And then I kind of actually know what I'm looking for, and I can actually really see the difference, because I know what I was seeing in previously. So that's something to think about. But yeah, always VR, always performance with VRR.
Mr. Skeleton, thank you guys for answering. You helped me a lot. You're very welcome, buddy.
Yeah, no problem. No problem at all.
That's why we have in the live stream.
Yeah.
This one is one. I love my Röhrenfernseher. I don't know if that's CRT in German.
Oh, old school. Nice.
Yeah. Oh my God. Now don't start with this one. Okay. Let's stick to the plan. What we want to talk about.
No problem. No, we can go through a few questions, man. Like we've got time. Yeah.
We have this one. I don't know if this is LG Dryer GD don't support local dimming. Why? Yeah, that's really bad. Really
I don't know if that's a troll or not. That could be a troll, but in the case where it's not, I will answer it. So OLEDs do not have a backlight. Each pixel can be individually lit. It's a self-emissive display, which essentially means it generates its own light. So therefore, there's no local dimming zones. Or if you want to think of it in layman's terms, think of every pixel as its own dimming zone.
Yeah, correct. That's why we don't need this. That's why this technology, in my opinion, is superior over.
Yeah, I saw Christie's comment below that, but we won't highlight it.
No, that's okay. Okay, this one's just a little joke mark here. No, I get it. No worries. So we talked about. So again, forget about the game. We're talking about next topic. Guys, by the way. Again, thank you very much for joining. And this is our first live stream together, so we need to, find our balance, or our, I don't know how we
in a platonic way.
Yes, mate. Absolutely, of course. Yeah. Everything what happens after the stream stays.
That's different.
No. So this is our first stream, and we're planning actually to do this on a regular basis. Okay, yeah. And with regular base, we mean weekly.
Yeah.
When we're reaching 1 million viewers, then we have a little bit giveaway. We're giving a pack of ice cream or whatever.
Nice.
No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. But no, guys, really, this is going to be a ongoing thing. I hope so. You're just not. You're going on vacation for 2-3 weeks, correct?
Yeah. So tomorrow I'm leaving. I'm going overseas for 2.5 weeks. So I thought we'd get one in quickly, and then when I return, we plan to do one. I think it's every Wednesday moving forward.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. One comment I just wanted to highlight before we do move on. Ivan, I have to give a shout out to Ivan. Ivan has been there from the beginning on my channel. And Ivan is always there on my videos, always commenting, always the first one to say hi. And yeah, compliment me for a video. So Ivan, I appreciate you. Thank you for joining us here. So yeah, cool, man. Let's kick on. So one of the topics, are you right, Marcus, if I move on?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So one of the other topics I wanted to cover, I'm not sure if many people have seen it, the Artings video that's just come up, excuse me, today was the LG C4 versus the Bravia 9. For me, I'm a bit of a TV enthusiast. I'd call myself. I think we're all probably somewhat of a TV enthusiasts here. You know, I watch a lot of the guys overseas, FOMO and HD TV test and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah. So for me, one of the most heated debates I have seen in the most recent years was people who were just jumping on the Bravia 9 bandwagon, just saying like, "This is it. This is going to destroy OLED. This is going to have crazy peak brightness with all the contrast ratios and all that kind of stuff." And I think a lot of people were buying into that hype. And then when I saw the video from Artings appeared, I thought, C4, Bravia 9, why are they putting a mid-range OLED up against a flagship Sony TV? Why wouldn't it be suited to, you know, a G4 or anything of that kind of caliber? And surprisingly, the C4 to me probably was the better choice. Sure, like watching SDR content, the LCD TV is much brighter. But in terms of a lot of the different things they compared it against each other, it was just amazing for me just to see like people just straight away dismissed OLED. Oh, it's over, and now this TV is going to be the TV to get. Are you following any of that stuff, Marcus, or are you?
Yeah, a little bit. I didn't watch this comparison, or I haven't had a look actually, but yes, I'm watching Artings actually quite often, to be honest. One of a great website.
I might quickly, if you don't mind, just show something on the screen. So what we're looking at here is the review. Can you see that okay, Marcus?
I can.
Okay. Yeah, so obviously we're looking at a mid-range OLED and a flagship Sony QLED TV. And if you look at the scores here, in my opinion, they are not near far enough to justify, I guess, the hype and the price. You know, mixed usage, 9 for the OLED, 8.8 for the Bravia 9.
So what is the price difference?
I just had a quick look online and I just searched before the live stream. The cheapest C1, what was that? I think it was a $1,300 difference. And I guess it's not as wide as I thought it was going to be. And also do keep in mind the C4 has been out a lot longer and the Bravia 9 is just launching. So those prices will come down. Yeah. So it is interesting
that they're comparing actually, because the C4 is not the top end TV.
You know? Yeah, that's why I was surprised. Why didn't they throw it up against the G4? But yeah, it was
maybe it would be even worse. It's not worse, don't get me wrong, but you can clearly see on the result that OLED has an advantage over
definitely. And specifically, like, well, you can see here, like the HDR brightness is considerably higher on the Bravia 9.
Let me say something about this. I had the QN95B, Samsung's top-end LCD screen 3 years ago, and it was 1700 nits maximum peak brightness. Absolutely bright. My CX against the QN95B was like a candle, you know, literally, you know. But when you look closely, when you look for details and specular highlights, there are no details because of the it was not good, to be honest.
And that's how I found. I had the QN900A, which was the 8K Neo QLED, and that thing was like silly bright. But when I put it up against my C1, like over time, I realized the brightness is just kind of that wow effect, but it actually looked a lot better on the OLED without a doubt. And sometimes brightness isn't, you know, isn't the
No,
whole
no,
thing it's made out to
just go
be.
up again. Just go up again and look at the gray uniformity again. And then more up, more. Here, this one. So this is bad. This is not
Bad,
good at all. Dirty
bad. That
screen
is
effect
really
is
bad.
really bad. So, and
Really bad.
this is something what I haven't experienced in a long time, because I bought the CX, then the G2, and then the QN95P. Okay.
Can I ask you? Okay, what
yeah.
made you go from the G2 to the QN95B?
No, because I reviewed TVs back then, and I thought I need an LCD screen as well, or an LCD TV to actually
Right.
see what's going on, you know.
Mm.
And it's great and bright and whatsoever, and you don't need to worry about burn-in. I mean, no one worries about burn-in anymore on OLED anyway,
No.
because it doesn't matter. But the dirty screen effect on the Q95P was terrible compared to my CX. Full stop.
Yeah.
And the T2 was great, absolutely.
Yeah, my Neo QLED, it was the same thing. It was just rubbish. The any kind of, if I did any gray slides, it just like that. It looks exactly like that picture. They just can't get it right, which is very surprising. But one thing I'm just trying to highlight, I'm just trying to look for the games section, because I think that was one thing that jumped out to me on the review. Black frame insertion.
Let me just quickly thank Diamond again.
Go ahead.
Another super chat. Okay, thanks. I have an LG Ultra here, 27-inch VRR monitor. I mean, look, the thing is, you have to try anyway what you like better. You know, just because I like performance mode in a game doesn't mean you like it. Okay, I can just tell from my experience, I don't like quality and balanced mode in Wukong. It doesn't work for me. Okay, thanks again.
So one thing I wanted to touch on, because I did consider this TV at one point, but if you are a gamer, look at the input lag. It's almost double.
That's a big difference.
So when you're doing 4K 120, you're going from 5 to almost 10 milliseconds.
I mean, look, we already complaining on a high level, but I'm on your side. If you buy a TV just for gaming, literally just for gaming, because input lag doesn't matter when you watch a movie.
No,
but
of course not.
If you like to play, then if you feel it, that's a different story again. But you know, it's twice as much.
Yeah. So for me, that really jumped out at me, just because I remember so many people were just on the forums, in the comment sections, in so many YouTube videos I was viewing at the time, and they were all just singing for this Bravia 9. And now that it's out, like, don't get me wrong, like at this level, you know, we're talking the top 5%. So they're all going to look amazing. But when I bought my Neo QLED, I actually made a video about it. I was so sold on the LCD TV. And then over time, you kind of, once you get enough experience, you just realize at this point in time, there is just nothing better than an OLED TV. You just can't beat it. It's just until they bring out micro LED, which doesn't look like is going to be a thing because it's just too hard to make.
Probably for the smaller sizes, probably. Yeah, but I agree. I mean, look, I'm happy to try I was happy to try LCD with local dimming, but it's not good. If you're experienced OLED with infinity contrast, you know, and then you go to a local dimming LCD, sorry, it's not good. That's my opinion, my 2 cents. Okay.
Do we have any more questions or comments?
Young TVs shouldn't cost this much. I mean, hey, bloody Tesla shouldn't cost this much. Of course, the problem is, I agree, but then just don't buy it when it's too high. You know, it's all in the power of us. But because people buying. But I mean, I don't know how it is in the US or whatever. So we are here in Australia, you know, and I think Adam knows exactly what I'm talking about. TVs are bloody expensive here. All the technical stuff is expensive here. Back then in Germany, I was probably earning a little bit less compared to here, but everything was less expensive. So you can actually afford more. Australia is very expensive, in my opinion.
One other thing I've found, just touching on the price of TVs, is over the years, because I've purchased so many TVs for my channel, I've kind of built a relationship with a few people, and the amount of discounting they can actually do really blows me away because, for example, like when the G4 83-inch launched in Australia, it was around $10,000 as well. You know, and I picked it up for 6, and that was pretty much when it launched, and that was just because I had a contact. And what amazes me is they are still making money at that point.
Of course they do. Of course.
So I definitely agree. TV shouldn't cost this much, but yeah, it's just what can you do?
If you're not bargain when you go and buy expensive thing, whatever you buy, then you're fool, to be very honest. Sorry to say that, but that's how it is. You know, you always need to bargain. Full stop. And if you don't like it, if the guy don't want to bargain with you, then just leave. Go to the next shop. There are a million shops out there.
Yeah,
you know, you get a better price for sure.
Yeah, you do have to hustle. It sucks though, but yeah, you do have to hustle, and unfortunately, not everyone is buying a TV every couple of weeks, so it's very hard to build those relationships.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, there's I don't know how you. Yeah. That's probably impossible if you don't have a proper deal or whatever. I think that's even the problem what other people are having, like FOMO or whatever. They're not getting, if they wouldn't have this this shop, you know, where they can borrow the TVs, they're not getting samples from the manufacturer. Then no one, I think. Maybe Vincent Theo, maybe he gets some.
Yeah, I think he's got a bit of a relationship with a retailer that lives near him, Crampton and Moore. I think that sounds about right. And I think they kind of loan him TVs and things like that. But yeah, it's brutal, man, because how are you supposed to know? Like I was super interested in a QD OLED this year, but I was just so annoyed with Samsung. I was like, I'm not even going to, you know, bring it in. But yeah, like most people, until I got my hands on TVs, I was just watching all these different YouTubers and just trying to understand. But the problem is with, I guess, FOMO and that kind of crowd is really nice guys and all that stuff, but they do kind of hype things up and get you excited. And then it's like 2 weeks later, then they're super excited about something else. And you're like, oh man, I just bought that TV. And now you're saying this one is better, you know? So
yeah, but it's,
I guess that's his thing. Stop the FOMO, right? He tries to get you excited. But like, shout out to FOMO. FOMO and I have spoken a few times. Really, really great guy. So I like his channel, man. I watch all of his stuff, and he keeps everyone up to date. He's doing the good jobs, doing the good work. I think you got a question there for you, Marcus.
Let's have this one. Question, Marcus. I currently have the LG C4 and I love it. Is there anything out there TV update wise that is worth buying that will show? No, I don't. To be honest, I wouldn't spend money on this. You have the C4 really. I mean, the upgrade would be the G4, but it's wasting money for a 5-10% better TV.
Man, you got a 2024 TV. You can't really upgrade much from that. Like going from I can't speak to C4 to G4. I can speak for C1 to G4. Like, yeah, there is a considerable difference in brightness and a slight improvement in processing. But man, I still love my C1. I think my C1 is one of the best TVs I've ever owned, and I still use it like crazy, man. And I'm guessing the C4 is considerably better. So, man, just enjoy your C4. Like just having one of those TVs, you're in the top tier of TVs. Some people never never will get an OLED. So you've done very well.
Absolutely, wise words. Yeah.
So you've got a couple more questions. Did you want to get on top of them?
Do we have more?
Just a couple of statements, actually. So, let's
we can do this one here. Ghost Rue 666. I just got the LG OLED before, and I don't see the hype. HDR is too dim to be realistic, and DTM is more realistic. So I'm confused of why HDR is good to some people. Do I need to change in game settings?
It's a good question.
So look. The problem with most of the TVs, even including G4 and the newer TVs, they're not bright enough to have a proper HDR experience. HDR is the most accurate way to display HDR games. Okay, that's the most accurate way you can play HDR games. But it comes with a downside, because it will show the picture as the TV can do. So what dynamic tone mapping on is actually doing, it's just overbrighten the picture all the time. Okay, so that the average picture brightness is always higher compared to HDR. That's why people think dynamic tone mapping on is better, which probably is, because when you look at it and it's brighter, it feels better. And I had this in so many games actually, where I showed HDR on in Assassin's Creed, I think it was, on a marketplace or whatever. HDR absolutely dim. You turn on dynamic tone mapping on, boom, bright. So this is what you expect when the sun is here, when you have noon, you know what I mean? You like to have a bright picture, not a dimmed picture. I fully understand you. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll touch on that. So sometimes I find my G4 a little bit too bright, but like what Marcus is saying is correct. Like HDRG is kind of like the most accurate. It's kind of getting everything where it's intended to be, but I personally find it too dim, even on a G4, which is, you know, one of the brightest OLEDs that are out at the moment, with you know, the panel turned up and everything like that. I find HDRG just way too dim. I don't use, actually, I swap between dynamic tone mapping on and off, because that really gives a huge brightness bump, and sometimes it is too much. And if you're one of those people, I'm a bit crazy. I like to change settings on my TV sometimes depending on what game I'm actually playing. So yeah, it's funny. It's kind of counterintuitive, because we're all told, you know, HDRG, you go for accurate settings, and you're on a B4, so that is a slightly dimmer panel. But
Yeah.
man, I wouldn't bother with it. Just crank your OLED panel brightness up, use dynamic tone mapping, and just enjoy the contrast of an OLED, man. That's
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So at the end, it's important that you like the picture, not what other people tell you.
Yeah.
You know, that's how it is. You know, you can't argue with. I mean, if you ask me about, well, let's say like this, if you, I calibrated all my displays, because I like to have that the display is showing me exactly what the game outputs. I need this for my YouTube channel, or for streams like that, to see if my face is actually has the correct color. You know what I mean? So this is very important. But some people, they don't like it. Full stop. And there's no arguing, no, you're wrong or whatever. So I can just say, from a calibration point of view, you're not right. But hey, you like it, go for it.
Yeah.
You know, if you like dynamic tone mapping on, go for it.
It's just one other thing, just quickly, kind of off topic. So for example, a lot of my friends, they might set their TV up and they put it to vivid mode, you know, that really horrible setting. And then after watching vivid mode, you know, I'll switch it over to, say, cinema or movie mode, where it kind of warms the picture and changes all the settings. And to me, that's a more accurate image. But if you're watching vivid and you go to that, you're like, oh, this is horrible. It's all yellow. It's too dim. And it's like, I always say to them, okay, turn the TV off, leave it as it is, turn it off. Tomorrow, come back on, watch it for a day on that setting. And at the end of the day, turn it back to vivid mode. And they have the exact same reaction, like, oh, that vivid mode, it's disgusting. So yeah, that's kind of my point is, yeah, you don't have to always stick to what.
So you're the same, or when you walk into a room or whatever and the TV is on, you say, oh my God, what are they doing with this poor TV? You know?
Yeah.
Now, sometimes it's interesting, but even the vivid mode nowadays is not as vivid as 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Because, you know, back then you put on vivid mode and you had one piece of color.
That's true.
Give me a second. There was something I like to highlight.
Sure.
This one here. From Chris D. How are you, by the way? How do you like RTX HDR? It's much better than Auto HDR, in his opinion. To be honest, RTX HDR, I tested this, or I compared it in Cyberpunk with the native HDR, and it was much better there, but it has also some flaws. So I don't know, of course, this was months ago, so I'm pretty sure they updated it, but back then there was a little bit of oversaturation and stuff like that. So I'm not sure if this is still happening, but in general, this is an absolutely fantastic feature, to be very honest. Sadly, it costs some FPS, but 5090 is coming soon, maybe in a year. All good.
See, I'm not a PC guy, so I'm guessing what their graphics cards, they're coming out with their own profiles where they can do like an interpretation for HDR.
Yeah, that's something like, how should I say, something like AI live generated HDR, something like
Right.
that. You know, so that's why it costs FPS, of course, because it's happening on the card and whatsoever. But NVIDIA is great in cases like that, or with features like that. It's absolutely amazing. And yes, I like it, yeah. But again, I still don't know if this game, Wukong, works with RTX HDR. I haven't tested it.
As I said, I'm not a huge fan of the game, but I can appreciate its looks. I definitely think they're going to have to patch in HDR at some point. There's going to be an update. They can't omit something like that. I just think it's too big of an oversight.
Yeah. So he played Wukong in Auto HDR. Must be on the PC then, because there's no Auto HDR. So by the way, because he is writing Crashed Black level floor is less in Auto HDR on PlayStation 5. So first of all, there's no Auto HDR on the PlayStation 5. Okay, there is no such thing. Okay, what the PlayStation 5 is having or can do is HDR always on. That's the only thing. And then you play in the HDR picture mode an SDR game.
Wouldn't that result in washed out colors?
No, yeah, slightly. But it's actually pretty okay. I made also a video about this years ago already. It's actually not too bad, but it's not comparable with Auto HDR or with real HDR. Okay,
right.
So, but that's just. Oh yeah.
Greetings,
Jaskinia. Greetings from Germany. Great channel. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
What's the time in Germany? It must be around maybe 10ish, 11ish.
There you go.
Perfect. So what else do we have? Okay, happy. So again, put a Q in the front of the comments that we can see. Actually, it's a question because it's a little bit hard. 1.5 million viewers at the moment.
It's getting a bit crazy. Well, I might jump over to the next topic. So,
perfect.
Because I know Marcus is like hyper focused on HDR and all that stuff, and something that he and I have discussed offline. Because I get hands on with a lot of TVs. I've just reviewed this TV behind me, which is an LG 86-inch RU8050. Pretty cheap TV, but I just wanted something really big for this room. Review will come out in 2 days, but I have a bit of an issue with HDR TVs in general. So I guess I was trying to articulate myself to Marcus. It's as I said, when is HDR HDR? Because almost every sub $1,000 TV I purchase to review these days have HDR options. They can enable HDR, and I think what a lot of people get confused about is just because a TV says it can do HDR on the box doesn't mean it's going to show it correctly. In fact, most of the time, turning on HDR on a cheaper TV will often result with a worse picture than a SDR picture. And so I'm a gamer. I'm always on Xbox, and I have different people I hang out with and I talk to, and obviously you get to ask them questions. What TV are you playing on? Have you turned on HDR? And so many people are running HDR, and it might be a $600 Hisense or a TCL, something real budget, where there's nothing wrong with that. But then you ask them, why are you turning on HDR on a TV like that? And they turn it off and they're like, oh man, I've been playing like that for 2 years and it looks so much better on SDR. But everyone's talking about HDR this, HDR TVs, HDR auto HDR. And it's so, I guess what I'm kind of getting to is there's no real line or defined, I guess, specification to say what you are looking at right now is HDR. Just because I've turned it on and I'm playing a Dolby Vision or a HDR movie on Netflix, my panel is showing me something. And so some people often will turn it on and go, man, like, what's all the fuss about? And then I was like, come here, watch this TV. And, you show them like a nice modern OLED, and they're like, oh man, now I see it. So it's more of just like my opinion, and I guess, you know, the community, just to see if anyone else has any thoughts about this. But it's like, where do you say, okay, this TV is doing enough to show you an image that you will say this is HDR?
I mean, there are two important factors for displaying an HDR picture. It's brightness and colors. So probably less colors, because most of the games or movies still just using Rec 7 or 9 colors, because that's all what you need in a normal environment. Okay, so there's no need for very oversaturated colors. But so brightness is very important, because if you don't have the brightness, you can't, because the dynamic range suddenly in HDR is much bigger. So, and if your maximum peak brightness from the TV is not big enough, or not bright enough, it will just look worse, because you try to push all the information in a very small window, you know. So that's why sometimes, because your window is like this, and you push so much information in, it doesn't look nice. That's why the average picture brightness is too low and stuff like that. And that's why most of the people suddenly, when they have this window and they're turning, you know, changing to SDR, now suddenly they have this information in this window. Wow, okay, this is nice. Yes, of course it's nice, because your TV is crap. So my opinion is at least 700, 800 nits minimum nowadays. Beyond this, I wouldn't buy the screen, okay? So don't listen at any or don't buy any HDR 400 monitor or HDR 600. HDR 1000 is the minimum you should start with, to be very honest.
Let me just jump in there. Yeah. So just when you said the HDR 1000, so does HDR 1000, does that specifically refer to the peak brightness on that display? So that's saying that's a 1000 nit monitor.
Yes, if they have this logo, or if they referring to a HDR 1000 display, it must reach 1000 nits. Otherwise, it's false advertising.
Right.
But
then how do they measure that? Are they measuring that on like a 10% window? What are they measuring that on?
Yeah, that's a good question.
This is my problem. So Chris D wrote something, for example, I'll just highlight this. So I would say any OLED TV and any LCD TV with at least a few hundred dimming zones is proper HDR. They also go on to say anything edge lit is crap, unfortunately. So as I mentioned, the review of this TV behind me will be going out this week. This is an edge lit TV, and I'm in my shed at the moment. So we hang out here, we just watch sports. So I just wanted the cheapest, nastiest, biggest screen I could get just to watch football. I didn't care about a super high quality TV. However, I did some HDR testing on this. So no dimming zones, edge lit. And yeah, it has HDR on it, and it looks absolutely shocking. But when I connect my Xbox to it, the first thing it says is, oh, hello, let me enable HDR because this TV supports deep color and all this stuff. And so it's like, okay, I'm enabling all these advanced features that I get with this brand new TV. So, and I guess just to carry on with what you said, it's like, oh, any TV that hits over 700 nits, how does an average, or not even an average, how does an enthusiast like me or anyone in this stream walk into a retailer and go, that TV hits 700 nits? Like, I still struggle to find concrete information. And even if it does hit 700 nits, like just because the TV has a lot of dimming zones, it still can be horrible. I did a review on a Hisense TV. I think it was the U9G. If you guys want to check that out, I put that up against my Neo QLED, and that was the flagship TV from Hisense 2 years ago. And you can see it side by side, absolute garbage. I wouldn't pay half of what they wanted for that TV. And yeah, that ticks all the boxes. It had the peak brightness number. It had, it was a mini LED with, hundreds of zones. It ticked all the boxes, and yet it was absolute trash. So that's what I'm saying. So how do people walk in and go, yep, that TV, in my opinion, anything modern OLED. So if you buy an OLED, that's, C1 or above, even older, but let's just, say modern, like less than 2 or 3 years old, like a C2, 3 or above.
Yeah.
But when it gets to LED, LCD TVs, that's when it gets really tricky.
I mean, I would probably never recommend to buy an LCD TV anyway. That's how I am, you know. I would actually then recommend, maybe if you have a small budget, then look for used OLED TVs from friends, you know, maybe something like that. I wouldn't buy from a stranger because you never know what's happened to the TV.
Yeah,
But
and you need to check the hours too.
absolutely, it's complicated. But I would rather buy a used CX than an LCD TV, a used LCD TV. There's no doubt about that, to be very honest. So again, CX was my first OLED TV. And it took me probably a year until I experienced, or until I discovered HDR on this TV.
Yeah.
Because literally, you're absolutely right. So I connected my PlayStation 4, which was on this crappy LCD screen the whole time, with HDR support, but it turned off. Then I connected this, and the first thing what is happening is enabling HDR, because HDR support. And because the standard setting is dynamic tone mapping on, I was like, fuck, this is too bright. Okay, how can I turn this off? Let's turn off HDR. I don't need this, whatever this crap is, you know? And with the time, actually, I experienced HDR, and now I can't get enough.
Yeah, it is. One thing I would suggest to people is, if you are on a budget and you kind of are looking for a new TV, it's tricky, because I would also maybe say, hey, maybe go check on like a secondhand website, eBay or whatever, and maybe see if you can snap up something cheap like an older OLED that's maybe, something like a C10 or a C9, you know, a little bit older, just to get some hands-on experience with it, because going into a shop, you're not going to really understand, because all the TVs are in store mode. They're all juiced up to the max, and they're not not an accurate representation of what you're going to experience at home. But as I said, so many of my friends, when they come over and then we sit down and watch a movie on my G4 or C1, or what I usually do is I make them watch content they're super familiar with. So if you're used to, if you're a big fan of, say, Seinfeld, or a certain movie that you've watched a million times, so you know what it looks like on your home TV, get them to watch it on an OLED. And then that's when you actually go, oh man, like I know what that looks like at home. I've seen that a million times, and now I can see the light, so to speak.
It makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. Just quickly, thank you again, Diamond. If you don't have a 4080 or 90, better PlayStation 5 Wukong. Probably. I haven't tested that much, but
I have to ask, what is a 4090? Because I tapped out of PC a long time ago.
That's a graphic card, high end. So 4080 is almost high end. 4090 is the high end.
What price are we talking here for one of those cards?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not sure if it's still around $3,000.
Jesus,
4090. I'm not sure. Maybe a little bit less now, maybe 25. But I paid for my 4080 $1,800, $1,800, just for GPU, nothing else. So that's why you can't expect the same. And some people expecting the same quality from a PlayStation 5 than as from a 4070, 4060. It doesn't work like that anymore.
Yeah. Another thing I'll touch on is a conversation I've had with quite a few people is, as I said, because I used to be a PC gamer, I've kind of tapped out. I've moved over to consoles a long time ago. But I think particularly with this generation, the Xbox Series consoles and PS5, in my opinion, you could argue this, but in my opinion, this is the first generation of consoles where upgrading the TV is just as important as upgrading the console. You know, when you go back, arguably, Xbox One and PS4, they had HDR, whatever. But, going further and further back, it didn't really matter what kind of TV you had. But now that we're getting into, higher frame rate, and VRR and all these HDR implementations, quite a lot of my friends, they've upgraded their consoles and they think, oh, this is how it looks. And then it's like, sometimes when you have a PS5 and then a year later you upgrade from a really crappy TV to, say, like a modern one, like an OLED, it's almost like upgrading your console again, because you're getting such a jump in the fidelity and picture quality. As I said, it's almost like getting a second upgrade to your console. And I feel like a lot of people tend to forget that.
Yeah, no, that's fine, and I fully agree. I fully agree because now with the newer features, especially VRR and stuff like that, and maybe 120 hertz games, some of them supporting 120. Yes, upgrading the TV is I mean, it's anyway important that the your display is the best part in the chain, in my opinion. You know what I mean? So because that's where you're looking at. It's the same with speakers, or when you have a surround
Yeah.
system, you need to invest the most money in your speakers, not in the receiver.
Yeah.
Because the speakers are delivering the sound. Same with the display. And this is sometimes where I think that people are making a big mistake because they are saving on the wrong spot.
Yeah, definitely agree. I just wanted to highlight this from Yang. Thank you for the comment. So until the base customers know about HDR, which about 75% don't understand because most of the customers are from generations that are slow with technology. HDR will never be at a stable level. Yeah. I don't know about the percentages, but I definitely agree with what you're saying there. It's yeah, base customers know about HDR. We are probably the top 10%. These people that are hanging out with us tonight, we are probably in that very small percentage at the top that understand. And as I said, so many friends I've spoken to are enabling HDR on TVs that just don't support it, and it's something I'm trying to figure out a way to educate people about and how to make people understand, because a crappy edge lit TV like this will tell you turn on HDR, and then you don't realize it actually looks worse. So yeah, it's a tricky situation. So that's something that frustrates me, because I feel like manufacturers found a little marketing loophole. As long as the TV has a HDR mode where it can accept the signal, they can slap it all over the box saying this TV has HDR, but they don't say, well, it's not going to look like it should, but it can turn it on. You know what I mean?
Same. I mean, you can have 8K on the PlayStation 5 if you want.
That was something that shit me, because I had my excuse my language, something I had the 8K Neo QLED, and when I bought my PS5 home, it said 8K on the box. So I went, oh, okay, I should be able to turn my resolution up. Never had any 8K features. Very, very shocking they got away with that. I'm surprised no one took them to court for something like that. False advertising.
It's just weird, yeah. It's just weird. But anyway. Now, but in regards of real HDR again, or if people want to upgrade their TV, I would always do research. If I'm going to spend a lot of money, it's the same when I'm buying a car, new one or whatever. I spend days, weeks research online, because I don't trust the salesman. You know what I mean? I don't trust them, because you go in a shop and they're selling you the crap where they get the most profit.
Yeah,
that's what they're doing. So, and that's why you have to know your stuff. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's tricky because a lot of them are commission based, but sometimes just for giggles, I will go into a TV store and just play dumb and just ask questions about TVs, and it's amazing some of the stuff like I've been told. Yeah, it's amazing because these people are supposed to be knowledgeable, but at the end of the day, a lot of them are just, this is a job they're doing, just to make money, so they don't really care. But they will tell you everything and anything to get that sale across the line.
I like to come. One example I had back then in Germany. I was going. This is years ago. I bought an optical fiber cable for sound. I don't know if you're too young for this. So there was something before HDMI display port. Okay, so
like a SPDIF or something.
SPDIF, optical fiber cable, whatever you call it, for sound connection. And I went in the shop and I couldn't find it. And I need a optical fiber, blah blah blah. And he gave me, and I said, oh, there it is. And so I took the cheapest one. And he said, no, you wouldn't buy this because you should get this one here. And it was 3 times more. And I said, so why would I get this? So if people don't understand now, we're talking about optical. So if the cable works, then there's no difference in terms of quality. If the cable is quality, light is light, full stop, there's no difference. The difference was what he gave me was actually with golden connectors and whatever and stuff like that for better transmission. And I looked at this guy and I said, I was like on my nerves, and I said, are you going to, this is light, this is digital. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So that's why you need to know your stuff, you know what I mean? And then you can ask stupid question, and you can see if the people or the person in front of you actually is telling you stories or not. Okay.
Yeah.
This was my okay. Do we have anything else? We have a German here comment. Okay, that's for you to read.
Okay. Ich hatte. No, I have no idea.
So this is hatte, okay, because it's with points on top. No, but what he is actually saying, he wants to have a console and a TV, and he likes just to connect them to each other, and he likes to have fixed 60 FPS or fixed 120 FPS, good optic or good picture quality, no VR. He doesn't need VR, whatever. He's right, actually. If you have fixed 60 FPS or fixed 120, you don't need to have VR. So basically, he's saying he just like to plug and play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But you can only do that on a PC, right? Because if you have a graphics card that's powerful enough to ensure you will never drop below a frame rate, because consoles, like, you can set it to 120, but it's not going to stick to 120. So you have to use VR.
I mean, look, this is up to the developer or programmers. They can make fixed 60 FPS if the CPU is good enough. Okay, so let's say like this. Let's just imagine the CPU is not a problem in this game. There's no excuse not to have stable 60 FPS, because with dynamic resolution and stuff like that, it's possible. It is possible. So there's no need actually for VR, but I can see that VR is very helpful, because then you don't need to stick to 60 FPS. You can go up to 70, what the game can do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So in 10 frames, more is better.
Yeah, take every frame you can get. I'm big on VR.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I like VR. Absolutely.
So let's see if you got any other questions here. So where was it? I saw one about the plasma TVs. So yeah, this is one of the reasons why plasma TVs died. They look like crap in bright stores. Yeah, again, like I said, a lot of the time, every TV has store mode, so it's like all the colors and brightness is just juiced up to the max. But I also think because plasma TVs weigh about as much as 3 TVs at once. I had a friend of mine, I had to go help take his TV off the wall. It was only a little 55-inch plasma. Man, it weighed as much as my 85-inch. It was so heavy and it was thick. It just felt like a sheet of, like, I don't know, iron. It was unbelievable. But
but also back then, and I don't know if you remember, but back then, so it was in Germany like that. When you come to a shop where they're selling TVs, this was always in the back, because they had space in the back. But the problem is the lighting was exactly the same as anywhere else. So it was always bright. And over the years, they actually changed this. So where the TVs were, there was almost no light anymore because of reflection, stuff like that. So they actually learned about their mistakes, but too late for plasma, probably.
Yeah, that's true.
What do we have here?
Yep, you go on. I'm just looking something up.
I have this Mr. Skeleton. I understand a lot about TV, and I also understand that why in Germany everyone wants to go to other country. Okay, good. Yeah, I'm here in Australia and I'm not going back. That's the only political thing I'm saying today. But yeah, no. Okay, no. But yeah, no, I don't know a lot about TVs. I just, because let's for an example, I don't know much about Sony TVs because I never had a Sony TV. Never had an OLED Sony TV. No, but maybe that's
never had one.
No, but that's maybe I'm not sure what if I'm buying a G4 next year when the price drops like crazy, because I don't. Look, if I'm not going back into reviewing TVs, which I probably don't do because it's just too expensive. expensive, you know.
Yeah.
Then I like to upgrade. Then I wait until the price is down, because then you talk, instead of the G4 here in 65-inch is around $5,300.
Mm,
That's a lot of money for a
yeah.
65-inch TV.
It
For
is. Yeah.
I wouldn't say slightly, but it's not like a day and night difference to my G2. It's not. Full stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Something I will touch on that is, so I have a 83-inch C1, and when I purchased my G4, I was expecting like insane leaps and bounds of improvement. And don't get me wrong, it is a better picture, better processing. It's quite a lot brighter, but I still think my C1 is very, very competitive. So yeah, like it's funny because every year the prices go through the roof, and then at the end, there's always a big fire sale. So I'm
Yeah.
big on buying a TV at the end of its cycle. So yeah, maybe when the G5s and C5s start coming out,
I
that's
mean,
when I'll look at a G4.
I will wait, of course, what the features or the specs from the G5 is, but
Mm.
I'm not expecting big improvements anymore in regards of WRGB OLEDs, to be very
Yeah.
honest. So I think that's done.
Yeah, I think WRGB is kind of at a point where,
Yeah.
like, where do they go from here? I feel like I personally believe QD OLED is the superior technology.
Yeah. Fully agree.
I'm a big fan of, no, I don't want to say I'm a big fan, but I just prefer LG TVs because I feel like they work better with my setup.
Firmware, software, and calibration is
Yeah.
much easier on them.
Yeah, definitely. I just saw a comment here. I'll add this one in. I don't know. I'm not sure what he's referring to. I have a Q9. What's a Q9? Refresh my memory. Do you know?
No.
Not sure. Its HDR is legit. I actually have OLED cache burning in my pocket, but I passed on the S95D because of the matte finish, I'm assuming, yeah, and I haven't been able to buy it on the G4.
I would have a look at the S95C, to be very honest.
Look,
If
man,
you
I
like-
just bought the G4. I rate the G4, but yeah, I think Marcus, yeah, you are right. What was it? The S95C.
So the S95P was the first WRGB OLED from Samsung, which the display absolutely wow, but then they messed it up with the software, with updates and stuff like that. You know, so it's bad. I would not get the S95P, but the S95C, they made everything right. And they didn't touch the brightness with firmware updates and so far. And then they messed it up again with the finish on the S95P, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Samsung was so desperate to differentiate themselves from everyone else. They kind of went with that. And I saw it, like if the panel is kind of here and the window is there, you get this kind of cross light that bounces off the panel, and it just gives a really washed out image. And like in a dark room, yeah, fine. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of that finish. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the G4. I think that's probably the one to get, especially if you're a gamer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the G4 is the top TV.
Q9FN, the 2018 flagship. So yeah, man. To do it, get the G4, man. As I said, I'm a big fan of waiting till, because I think we're going to start hearing about when it's usually,
I don't know.
We usually start hearing rumors near the end of the year about.
Yeah, of course. And then they're getting released March in the US, something like that. May?
Yeah.
Can't remember. Anyway, but yeah, it's almost Christmas. Really, seriously.
That's true. Yeah. Just continuing on the topic we were discussing, it's like, as I said, so when is HDR real HDR? And I just want to kind of highlight something here. I'll just share something on my screen. So I've just basically gone, so for those of you who aren't in Australia, we have a retailer which is probably, I guess, like a Best Buy, JB Hi-Fi. They use the same colors and everything, so I don't think that's by accident. But for example, I just clicked on, TVs 65-inch to 70. And so like you look at kind of what what they're showing you. So
Mm.
obviously the C4 on the left, we all know that TV. Then you go the frame QLED, and you're looking at the price and you're like, okay, $2,495. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure that's an edge lit TV because I have a frame 2021 or 2022. And while it's a very nice, slim profile TV, it's flat, it does look like a picture frame, it has a beautiful ambient art mode. That has absolutely bottom level HDR performance. It's an edge lit TV.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, and so if it is an edge lit TV like my frame TV that I have, see, this is where I feel like consumers get stuck because you're looking at that going, okay, well the OLED's really good. Oh, that's the next step down. So that must be a good TV. But for that one, you're actually paying for kind of the aesthetic and the appearance of the actual TV.
Yeah.
So it's very tricky to navigate. Then if you scroll down and you see, okay, the Samsung DU 7700, 7700 crystal LED, that's an edge lit TV. And again, so you kind of, consumers will get very confused because you would assume, okay, Samsung, that's a certain level. It's like buying a BMW or a Mercedes. It's like, even if you're buying an entry level, you're kind of expecting a certain level of performance.
Yeah.
But
No.
quite often these entry level TVs are worse than, buying a Hisense or a TCL TV that costs the same. You probably get a lot better performance.
Absolutely.
So as I said, it's and then you go over here to the right, the LG TV, the UT 8050. I can just judge by looking at that. That's probably another edge lit TV, or if it does have dimming zones, it's next to nothing.
Yeah, maybe 2 or something like that.
Yeah, so that's it's something that's really frustrating me in this industry.
Look, the problem is so the problem is, we're still talking about $1,500, $1,500. And this sounds absolutely bad, but this is for me, this is no money for a TV, $1,500. And I know this sounds bad, but we are lucky, we can afford this stuff. Thank you very much that I'm working hard for this stuff. Okay. But $1,500 is still money. Some people can't or don't want to spend $5,000 on a TV, which I can absolutely understand. You know what I mean? If your car costs $15,000, why can you spend $5,000 on a TV? It doesn't make sense. But we need to understand that those TVs are not on the same level, not even close. SDR picture-wise, that's a different story. Because
even that
with processing and stuff like that. But it would be really, really at some point interesting to have really, and maybe we do this at some point, comparing high-end TVs with low-end TVs and see what do you really get for the money. Is it really worth to spend $2,000 more? Because we need to consider we are the nerds here. We are upgrading our TVs on a regular base. Other people, they're buying for 10 years. And then $2,000 for 10 years is probably worth investment.
Yeah, and I do have that video, as I said, the Hisense U9G, a video I created about a year ago. It's on my channel, and I actually did put that next to my LG C1 and my Neo QLED at the time. And as I said, that was the flagship Hisense offering for that year, and it was quite expensive when I purchased it. So for me, that was kind of what really opened my eyes to go, wow, okay, just because a TV's priced highly or it's from a reputable high-end brand doesn't mean it's going to get it. And I guess, as I said, when I see my friends, family, my mum buying these TVs and they're like, oh, it's a Samsung, they're thinking, this is going to be a good TV. And it's like, it's absolute crap. And so, yeah, it's a tricky situation for me. I really want to try and figure out a way, because as I said, like, there's no defined line, because you said, 700 nits. Okay.
Yeah.
But there's also, how can you know this? But there's other components that come with that, and it's like, okay, what if we got an edge lit panel that could do 700 nits? You know what I mean? And then there's no dimming zones.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? So there's so many different components, because that's one of the reasons why OLEDs are so good, because they might not hit 700 nits, some of the older ones, but because they have such great contrast ratios. That's the difference between light and dark is so far. That's what creates
Yeah.
that impact. And so obviously each step you can take them further and further. The darkest to the brightest is really where you're going to notice the HDR. So yeah, it's I don't want to keep harping on about it, but it's very tricky to navigate. It's very tricky to help people understand, you know what I mean? And people buy them, plug them in.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's got a HDR button. Awesome. I'm up to date. I've got HDR and Dolby Vision, and yeah, this is how
I'm
it
good
looks.
for the next 10 years.
Yeah,
Probably.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So let's have this young again. $5,000 for a TV. That's nothing but pathetic. There are cars for $5,000. Lol, that's another reason why HDR won't be a stable level, because prices of HDR products are too high. It's not just because of HDR. The prices are in general too high for this kind of stuff, to be honest. I agree. I mean, 5,000, and so it's probably not in the US, so they're cheaper, or they're having a different, it's cheaper, I think, than here. But here, $5,000 for a 65-inch TV, if I would tell this someone, you know, one of my friends or whatever, I say, are you crazy? Why are you spending so much money on a TV? So, because I like them.
Yeah, it's one of those things, man. It's yeah, I definitely agree. It's too expensive, but it's just how things are. Like, what can we do? It's just the way it is. It's but the thing is, once you get a TV of that caliber, you can generally stay with that TV,
For a long
man,
time.
like for a long time.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
10
And I
years,
agree.
15 years, whatever.
Yeah, like, man, I bought my 83-inch C1 back in 2021, and man, that TV is still punching with some of the best TVs out there. Like, every year you're getting minor increments. So that's the thing. Yeah, you know, you can, people might be happy with their crappy LED TV from 2017 to like, because he wrote in the comments earlier, people are happy with their 2017 LED TVs, but it's like, because they don't know what they're missing. In my opinion, once you get spoiled by something, you know, it's like flying first class, you know, going from economy to first class. It's like, man, now I know, now I've had a taste.
You don't need this, absolutely not. But if you experience it, you don't want to go back.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
yeah.
You know, so anyway. Oh yeah, this one. Maybe we should. Is this our last comment, and then we call it a day? What do you think?
Well, I was just thinking, yeah, anyone else have some questions, please just shoot them through now. Otherwise, we'll probably start wrapping up the live stream.
Yeah, so Christy, guys, you want to save money on TV, buy a smaller screen, 55, 65, and 6 closer. Absolutely correct. No, he is correct.
Yeah.
That's exactly. But I get it. Sometimes it's not possible. Okay, I'm lucky. So I'm actually, I have to say, thanks to my wife, I was going to buy my CX back then in 55-inch because it was significantly cheaper than the 65-inch. And then my wife said, no, you're getting the 6 because we measured and whatever, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And she said, no, you're getting the 65-inch because we will regret this. And she was absolutely right. You will regret this. But here in this case, you know, I'm sitting 1.8 meters. That's, I don't know how many inches and feet or whatever for the US guys. But I'm not far away from the TV. 1.8 and 65 inches really big, 1.8 meters away. Okay.
Yeah. Look, I have a 100-inch TV in my living room, and I probably sit about 4.5, 5 meters away from it. And it's amazing. Like, in the comment section of that video, I had to delete quite a lot of comments because, man, some people, some of the stuff they say, like, I'm like, man, it's a TV, like, chill, you know, like, they're like somewhat threatening and stuff like that. But yeah, I think one of the things people need to consider when they're purchasing a TV is, like, first of all, what's your primary use case and what kind of room is it going to go in? Like, for example, that TV behind me, like, you can see how huge the wall is. It doesn't make that TV look big. That's an 86-inch TV. So that's a huge TV, but it's just on a big wall. But that TV, I think I got it for $1,500. So cheap, very cheap. But for me, in this room, I didn't want anything HDR spectacular. I didn't really care. I just wanted a cheap big screen to watch the sports with, because we're in my shed at the moment. So yeah, it really comes down to what you're looking to do. Are you a gamer? Are you looking to watch movies, or you just I will always lean on a bigger display. But you kind of have to sacrifice quality unless you're willing to spend the $5,000+ and get no compromise TV.
Yeah. But yeah, now fully agree. But then you have to, if you have like you have a living room, maybe a gaming room, and then a shed, so you have 3 TVs. Come on, you can't spend $15,000 on TVs. I mean,
yeah,
I can't.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's one of those things, man. I built a new house, and I was like, it was like something I did once, and that was it. So I wanted to deck it out, do it right, and then not have to touch it for a long time. Here's one for you from Demon.
What mode is better, LG monitor, Gamer 1 or Gamer 2? I don't know what you're talking about, to be very honest. Is this a mode on your screen? I really don't know.
Yeah, he's saying monitor. I don't have an LG monitor, so I'm guessing it's some sort of preset.
If there's a difference in terms of just picture settings, or maybe in terms of changing input lag or something. I really don't know. Sorry.
Yeah, if you want to, you don't have to send another super chat, but if you want to elaborate further on that question, we'll get to that one.
Yeah.
This one's for you, Marcus.
How is it acceptable that a AAA game in 2024 doesn't have native HDR support? I can't get over black myth iteration. It's just crazy to me. I mean, look, we're complaining on a very high level. I have to say that, but I'm on your side. You know what I mean? I think I spent $80 or $90 for the PC version and $99 for the PlayStation 5 version. You expect some quality, you expect features, okay? And you expect actually a finished product, okay? This will be my next video, by the way. Because this is nowadays, quality control and stuff like that. That's probably also a big topic for another live stream. Quality control in games. It's terrible. So it's not acceptable anymore, in my opinion, in 2024, not to have those features, full stop. Because those features are already available. So they don't need to tell me, when they're using Unreal Engine 5, that they have to reprogram HDR for this game. No, I don't believe this. Because they're using presets for the game. Of course, they're putting a lot of time in the game. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I think thanks to Unreal Engine 5 and 4 and whatever, with all the presets, and you can do this and this and this, it's nowadays much easier. And I'm not saying you just click a button and enable HDR, but more or less auto HDR works like that. You get my point. So no, it's not acceptable anymore. Yeah.
One comment I just quickly wanted to highlight. So it's $3,000 in the USA for the LG 65-inch G4. It's very interesting because so that's in Australian dollars. I just did a quick conversion. So 3,000 USD is about 4,450 Australian dollars. So that's pretty expensive. So when I purchased, it was interesting because I actually ended up speaking to Stop the FOMO about it. When the G4s first hit Australia, I managed to get my G4 for just a touch over 6,000 Australian dollars, and that's the 83-inch G4, and that's about 4,370 US dollars. So I don't know how it works, or because generally speaking, TVs are more expensive in Australia compared to the States, but for some reason, this generation, a lot of the TVs were cheaper in Australia. So I'm not sure what's going on, but man, 3,000 USD for a 65-inch OLED, it's getting a bit out of control.
I would need to know how, because it's hard to say, oh, it's just $3,000 over there. I don't know what is the average income over there. I really don't know. So maybe they're earning less, because I don't know. Maybe at the end it just looks high for us, but we can afford it easier. I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah. But yeah.
So what was it? 2,699 euros at the moment, which is $4,400. So that's interesting. So Mr. Skeleton said, yeah, it's that much in Germany right now. Man, I paid less than that for my 83-inch G4. So I don't know how that works because, yeah, that converts to $4,440 Australian. I paid, I think, 4,000. What was it? No, yeah,
So see, but
6,000.
this is what I'm saying, you know,
Mm.
because if I compare this now with my income from back then, what I had in
Oh,
Germany
right. Yes,
before I
yes.
left,
Mm.
that's not a big price.
It's
That's
not?
really, no. With my income from back then, no. And I earned pretty good. Okay. So that means that's what I was telling about. You know, we can't
Yeah.
just compare prices and say, oh, that's cheap because, you know, I earned heaps of money. The other person, shit, just, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a little bit hard. It's a game mode on TV, monitors, options. Still can't recommend anything because I don't know what this mode is doing, to be honest.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, I haven't had any hands on either.
no. So usually, usually any, how should I say? I try to turn off any processing, any unnecessary processing on screen TVs, monitors. Okay, any unnecessary like sharpening, like whatever additional brightness, contrast booster crap and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Turn it off. Okay, turn it off, please. Okay.
Yeah.
If this is something like that, make sure it doesn't turn on any unnecessary stuff. You know, because it makes the picture. Maybe it looks better, but believe me, at the end it's worse. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, any other questions you can see? Well, you wanted to get
No, not at the
onto?
moment. No.
No. Okay.
I hope we haven't missed anything, but I think it's good
Yeah.
time maybe to call it
Yeah.
a
Wrap
day.
it up. Yeah. Definitely. All right. Well,
But this was
yeah.
great.
Yeah, it was really great to have our first live stream. I just want to say thank you everyone who's come from Marcus's channel and my own. Obviously, we appreciate it. So we're going to try do something a bit more regularly. So I'm going overseas tomorrow, so I'll be gone for a couple of weeks. But when I get back, we're aiming to do a weekly regular video, roughly around this time. So yeah, once again. Any questions and comments, we really appreciate it. So yeah, it just gives us motivation to continue doing this stuff because it does take a bit of time and effort, and yeah, just having you guys around is yeah, it's very encouraging. So yeah, thank you very much for being here for our first live stream.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Very good words. Yeah. No, that's all. Yeah. For now, perfect. I like it.
Yeah.
First live stream.
Awesome.
No one died. That's actually
No one
pretty
died.
good.
Yeah.
Not this time. No, just kidding.
Yeah,
Maybe.
awesome.
No, it was good. It was good. Really good. Okay. Now, I would say we're wrapping up. Thank you very much, guys, for all the support, as always. Watch my videos, okay? And watch his videos. Now, watch my video first, then his video. Okay?
Yeah, watch Marcus's first, or I'll get in trouble.
But no worries. Okay? Check out his channel because he has this big 100-inch TV, and you know. Anyways, no, it's really great. It's interesting video, you know, unboxing and stuff like that. Just go on this channel, watch it. I think the video has 1.5 million viewers, huh?
Yeah, one of them does, yeah. But then other ones have about 30 views, so take that as you will.
I know, so but that's how YouTube works, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, now check out his channel, and yeah,
thank you.
We see you in 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks on a regular base. I will do more streaming maybe by end of this week, just to update you on the Black Myth Wukong situation. And that's it for now. Huh?
Excellent. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Until next time.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.